What is up, guys? It's the Football Take Slayer back here again to slay another take from the club. In this video, I'm mostly going to be focusing on Adam Mckola and what he was saying, but they're basically just talking about Chelsea and if they are title contenders this next upcoming season. And honestly, I just can't really see it. I don't see how you can even say they're title contenders with the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City, and Arsenal. And in this first clip, you can listen in right now. He talks about if it's a 3 or 4 horse race, and he includes Chelsea in that race. So just listen in.
Well, I think they've got a really good team, and if that clicks, you never know. It could be a 3-4 horse race for the title.
First clip, Adam Mckola says, if everything clicks, it could be a 3 or 4 horse race, including Chelsea in that race. And I honestly just cannot see it whatsoever. I'm going to come out and say it right from the beginning. I genuinely believe this is going to be not even a 3-horse race. I think this is going to be a 2-horse race, whether people like it or not. And the real interesting race to watch this season is actually going to be the Champions League places with teams like Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle, Spurs, and Aston Villa fighting for those places. I just don't think there are teams that can compete with the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City's squad talent and depth in this upcoming season, other than maybe Liverpool, but they're just one injury at the holding midfield /6 position or the center back position, and their entire season falls apart at this point if they don't sign anyone in those positions, in my opinion. I really do kind of see it as like Rodri in Manchester City. It's like if Gravenberch gets hurt for Liverpool or if Van Dijk or Konate gets hurt for Liverpool, I think their season is genuinely over. So just transitioning, I would really say Chelsea's squad has 2 elite world-class talents in the likes of Cole Palmer and Moise Caicedo. If you want to throw Reece James in there, I don't. He doesn't play. I just don't feel like I could throw him in there. But the rest of their squad is really, to me, they're just average to above average players with little to no experience even in the Prem, and for a lot of them, definitely no experience winning the Prem. I think they have no Prem winners, maybe other than Cole Palmer, and they just don't have that experience and those type of players that you need along a long and grueling 38-game season that's been there, that's done it, that knows how to keep going, knows how to keep progressing. Even if you get a bad loss, someone who's won the league and has already been through it and knows how to keep the morale high. I also see what Chelsea are doing as almost the equivalent to what Wenger did with Arsenal after they moved to the new stadium, which, again, will produce top 4. I genuinely think Chelsea is always going to be up there with this transfer policy in top 4, but I don't think it produces titles. I don't. And I know you could say they just won the UEFA Conference League. I just don't even put any weight into that, but I get that you play in the competitions you're in. I congratulate them for winning. I can't even name a single team that they played against other than Fiorentina. And then I get that they won the Club World Cup, and honestly, I'm not even going to shit on any of the teams that they went against because I know the South American teams really have a lot of pride in those games, and the South American fans really come out. But I think for the European teams, especially in the beginning right now, I know this is like a newer type of tournament. I don't think the European teams are really valuing it that highly. They should. I mean, Chelsea just made $100 million, so 100 million plus, so props to them. But again, I don't think you could put too much weight into that. But I do think that what they're doing really does remind me of Wenger's Arsenal. And it really is, again, like their transfer policy is we are going to sign 24-year-olds or younger, and then we are going to sign them when they have an amazing amount of potential. And if they hit, like Cole Palmer did, then we now have a world-class player for years and years to come. But if they don't hit, we can recoup almost all, if not more value, selling them on because they are still young and they have their potential that another team would want to take a risk on. Just like look at Noni Madueke. You know, he came in, he produced a decent amount. I think he was pretty good at Chelsea, but they didn't think he was good enough to stay. They didn't want him in a starting position, so they were able to sell him on for more. And that's the brilliance of what they're doing, is with the signing only of really young players with high potential. But the thing with that is, when you hit on a world-class talent like Cole Palmer, that is your window now to not only mix the squad up with young and upcoming talent like the Laps and like the Pedro Netos of the world, but you also have to start signing proven players who are also world-class to elevate your team to that ultimate level of winning the league. It reminds me so much, again, of Wenger's Arsenal, where you sign Mesut Ozil and he's class, but your transfer policy of not signing older proven players on larger fees, where when you do sell those older proven players later on, you know, you're going to lose money because now they're past their prime, but they'll help you win now. And that was never done with Wenger's Arsenal after they moved to the new stadium, and that's why they were never able to get over the line. You weren't combining your world-class talent that you just spent a large amount of money on, and like with the Mesut Ozils of the world and Alexis Sanchez's, with anyone else. You were combining them only with the really young raw talents that you had in the squad. But they don't need young raw talents. They need other world-class players around them so you can definitively win a league. So now you get these timelines where everything is just off. Instead of getting like the likes of Benzema or Suarez, like Arsenal should have back in the day, you stick with a Giroud to ensure you never lose the money. You ensure that you don't sign someone that's in their prime, but once you're done with them, they're now 32 and you don't make any money back. This is what Chelsea need to avoid, but they aren't. Look at Cole Palmer. He is 23 and either already world-class or knocking on the door of being world-class, depending on who you are. Shouldn't Chelsea be capitalizing on a player like this and pairing him up with very proven class players, even if they're older? It's almost like, to me, it's almost like a kind of like a Bukayo Saka. Once Mikel Arteta and Arsenal realized how class he was, they instantly start signing players that they know are already proven and already very, 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 very great. They weren't just signing really young players now that they're hoping can be the next big thing, and then they'll line it up with Saka. They know they have Saka, who's one of the best right wings in the world. They're going to start lining up. That's like now the base for your entire build, your entire squad. You now have a world-class talent guaranteed. You're going to start pairing him with the likes of like Declan Rice and William Saliba. That is how you smartly manage everything. I don't think Chelsea should be signing the likes of like a Delap and a Pedro Neto, hoping that they turn into really good players. You should be signing like the likes of Gyökeres or Alexander Isak and using all the time you have of Cole Palmer's ability to your advantage. And I know people are going to say, well, they're lining up for the future. In 3 years, they'll all be in their prime and they'll be unstoppable. But you can't plan for 3 years down the line, because football is a cruel world and you never know what can happen. Players can leave, players can force transfers, players can lose form, players can get injured. You have to start taking advantage of your world-class players now when you have them and trying to pair them up with as many other world-class players as possible. Chelsea isn't doing that, and that's why I don't think they are contenders. So if you were to listen into this next clip, Booby kind of gives his opinion on what would be a great look for Chelsea this upcoming season. And I slightly agree, but I also slightly disagree. Listen in.
A deep run in the Champions League, getting closer to Liverpool, Arsenal and City next season, and trying to be in that four-pack to have a go at winning the Premier League next season.
So in this clip, he gives his opinion where he states Chelsea finishing in the top four and having a deep Champions League run would be a great season for them, which I actually agree with, finishing in the top four. But I don't agree with a deep Champions League run. It's almost ironic to say, because Chelsea have signed so many players and spent so much money, but I don't think they have the squad depth where all of these players are of a high enough quality. That's what I mean with depth. They have a plethora of players, but I don't think they're of all the same level of quality to do it week in and week out in the Prem and the Champions League. I genuinely believe if Chelsea get a round of 16 exit, that should be good enough for Chelsea fans this year. When I look at the squad and you're starting two center backs are Levi Colwill, who I think is an average center back, and he's lucky that he's left-footed because that's why he gets so much game time, and Trevor Chalobah, who you literally loaned out in the beginning of the season to Crystal Palace. That is just not a good look. And then, you go across the squad. Pedro Neto is an average winger who, like, he'll work hard, but he doesn't produce much. He doesn't produce much output. And then you're relying on strikers who have barely ever scored double-digit goals. Liam Delap's had one season in the Prem. He scored 12 goals. I'm not going to hate on him too much. He was playing for a really bad Ipswich squad. I think him even scoring 12 goals is still really great. But I don't think if you're challenging for the title, I don't think that's who you're trying to rely on. And then you're playing Reece James in the midfield, and you can't even really rely on him because he struggles to stay fit. And then you're playing Enzo Fernandez at the 10, so he could press for you because he's good at pressing, but he's not really a 10. I overall just do not love the squad at this point, and I really do think defensively the individual talent isn't the best, and the system actually protects these center backs so much and doesn't expose their flaws. And I don't see where the goals are going to be coming from. So that's why I think finishing top 4, securing that Champions League money and that Champions League place again, and even just making it to the round of 16 would be great for Chelsea. And now this final clip, they just kind of discuss João Pedro, and I just had to put this in here because I was really confused by it. So listen in.
On him. They think
I thought he was good last season.
I don't know, man.
We spoke about him a few times on here.
We did, yeah.
I don't know if
like,
he's top tier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he wasn't like the best player in the league, but he definitely stood out for me. I think João Pedro might be one of the Clear Lake's best signings.
Could be.
So in that clip, they're discussing João Pedro signing, and it actually made me laugh the way that Adam talked about João Pedro and said he wants Pedro more than Gyökeres. I don't really know a single thing João Pedro is better at than Gyökeres, other than maybe like an eye for a pass, like probably passing really. And that's not really something I'm looking for in my striker, to be honest. I think it would be a nice add-on, but I think I'd rather prefer my striker to score 40 goals than 10 goals and has an eye for a pass. But I actually like the signing of a João Pedro and a Delap, but I don't think that will win you the Prem. I think that would have been a great backup striker. But I actually do think João Pedro is a good player, and his main attribute that I love is the fact that he could play anywhere across the front four. He did it a lot at Brighton. But he isn't this lethal striker that is going to take you to the next level. I just can't see it. This isn't a Diego Costa type signing for Chelsea or a Erling Haaland type signing for City. This is a player who can give you 15 goals if you're lucky, and it just doesn't move the needle for me when you're competing with the likes of teams that have Gyökeres and Haaland and Isak at the striker position and just overall better talent and depth in the squad. So I just don't see it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.